I'm gonna do is I'm gonna type in db sync rate to 60, and close my command line with my semicolon. And basically easy, basically simple. We turn the sync rate on so we can use it, and we set the dial to 60 on our sync rate. So we put here set set the frame rate to 60. Okay. Now what we do is now comes the part where we take our image and we create a sprite. Create a sprite for it. We achieve this by using the function db create animated sprite. Fairly simple, big word, but fairly simple. db create animated sprite. This function will take 5 parameters. Big word, a lot of parameters, no big deal. It's pretty simple. For instance, the first parameter is an ID number for the sprite. So that just gives that sprite an ID number, so we know which sprite we're working with throughout the program. We can use any number from 1 up. This number is then used whenever we want to control the sprite in any way. The second parameter is the file name of the image to load, what image to load up. That's the second parameter. ID and the name of the file we're going to load. 2 parameters, not too bad. The third one is parameters used to define how many frames of animation the image contains horizontally, left to right. So if you have an image, it basically just wants to know how many frames, since it's an animated image, how many frames from left to right is that image. The fourth argument or parameter, well, actually, before we get to the fourth one, in our case, we're going to use 4 frames in the horizontal parameter, and the fourth parameter is going to define the vertical, up and down, how many frames are there, and in our case here, I believe there's 4 also. Animation and yeah, we have 4 on that parameter also, and that's the fourth one. We got 1 more left, and the fifth one is finally the last parameter. Controls the ID number for the image we're loading. Sounds a little tricky there, but basically is the ID number for the image that we loaded, and the first ID number is for the animated sprite itself. Okay. After calling this function, we will have a sprite in memory that can be displayed and animated on screen. And this is how this is what it looks like. I'm just going to space it here, and we're going to do the db, like I said before, create db create. No, I like to do it. db create animated sprite. Parentheses. Oh, how did I get up there? We got our parentheses. When we start, our parentheses is going to hold our 5 parameters. No big deal, big number, easy parameters. First one is the ID, which we're going to ID at 1, comma. The next parameter is going to be the file we're going to load, which is going to be in a string form, so you want to put the quotes up there, which is animated sprite dot png. We'll close the quotes. We got 2 parameters right now. This one right here is telling us we got this one right here that defines this guy here, and then we got this guy here, which is just loading our sprite, and now we have our third one, which is counting the frames going from left to right horizontally, which we said we had 4. And I'm gonna show you what we're talking about when you do your animated graphics on a graphic program. For instance, here, right here, is the one that we're gonna use for our project. And if you notice here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4 going vertical and 4 going horizontal in our example here. And so right here we have 4 horizontal and 4 vertical, and our last one, number 5, that is the ID that we're giving this guy here, the file itself. We give that ID one. Close out parenthesis and program line, and basically that's it. So what we did was we used this function, DB create animated sprite, to load this image, this animated image, and by using this and loading an animated image, we get to give it an ID number and tell the computer how many frames we're playing with in this animated image, horizontally and vertically. And then this image itself is going to have an ID number of 1. Okay. So now, when you get started with what I like to call the game engine, or the game loop, in our tutorial that the game creators give us, they call it the main loop. It is a simple while loop that will call a GDK function named loop GDK. This function will perform some internal routines. It is recommended to always base your main loop on this function call. Okay. So right here we're going to start the, I like to call it the game loop, and we're going to use the while statement, and we're going to call the function loop GDK, and this is recommended to use before you start your game engine. It's like this. This one doesn't use the quotes here, the semicolon. And now that we started the game loop, we want to do our magic in this part of the game loop. This is where you get paid the big bucks for what you can come up with inside this loop to make it all possible. In our case, in our tutorial, we're gonna manipulate the sprite so we can have our hello world program for us beginners. So we're gonna start off the loop with the open bracket. Now, if you notice, we got this open bracket and this open bracket. This open bracket over here, this open bracket is starting the program, everything in here. And by the time we finish everything, because this is when we have our main entry point, by the time we finish everything in here, we're going to have to close this bracket. but this is going to be a bracket within the bracket, which means all our programming for our loop is going to be in here, and we would have to close this bracket just for our loop programming purposes. Okay. So now, after we have the while statement in there in our open bracket,